everybody, and welcome to the Home Extension. Today's episode is actually our 1-year episode, and so for it being a year, I have Heidi LeHew with Rekindled. Hi.
Hi, morning.
Good morning. So Heidi used to be our do-it-yourself expert, and she's now ventured off to many new possibilities and for her career. So how about you tell us a little bit what's been going on?
It seems like it's been a lot longer than a year. This last year has gone by super fast. So congratulations to you guys on your 1-year anniversary. That's so exciting. In the last year, I've tackled, it seems like 1,000 different things, and the business has gone off in lots of directions. So recently this year, we've started to add events to the repertoire of things that we do. So we have some bus trips going on and markets that we've hosted, lots of other kind of exciting day trips. Still working with customers one-on-one and doing markets and doing different events at local shops and businesses. Still work with the Dream Bank. So lots of stuff has happened in the last year, but all exciting and all mostly DIY stuff.
Nice. So you want to talk about your bus trips and
Sure.
everything? I went on the last one you had a lot of fun and everything.
Yep. So one of the things that I'm very passionate about is showing other people some of the really cool places that I've been to and found, you know, interesting pieces to work into different home decor type things. So it's hard to find those spots. They're in the middle of nowhere. They're all over the place. So I decided, why not load up a bus, bring all my friends, and let's go on a day trip. And that's just what we've done. So the Five and Dime Foire was born this spring, and that was the trip that you were on.
Yeah.
And what we do for that is we all board the bus with lots of food and drinks, giveaways and prizes, and we head out to 5 or 6 different local businesses. And in the middle of that is always one large market. So the next one is coming up October 10th. And for this one, we're going to be starting in Madison, and then we're going to head south a little bit. So we're heading down to Beloit and Rockford and Roscoe, and then swing back home late in the evening with a bus full of goodies.
That will be fun.
Yeah. And it's an affordable trip. So for only $65, you get to board the bus, you get lots of prizes and treats and fun. And then, the whole day we just support these small businesses that work so hard. And everybody then has a new place to shop, especially coming up against the holidays. We're all looking for gifts and trinkets for our friends and family. And what a better place to do it than to shop local.
Yes, exactly. And it's great. How about you tell us a little about your vehicle here?
So this is a Winnebago, and most people look at these and they think, oh my gosh, what a really crazy old RV. But I've been staring at this Winnebago for a long time, and it dawned on me that it would be really fun and a cool project if I purchased an old Winnebago, gut the entire thing out, take everything out, and then the biggest DIY project of my life will be to remodel the Winnebago and turn it into a mobile retail space. And that's exactly what I'm doing now. So today, on your 1-year anniversary of the show, my dad is driving back a 1972 Winnebago Brave from Wyoming. He's having the time of his life on that road trip. I'm a little jealous. And when it gets here, we'll start the process. We're going to take everything out. It's got all the original appliances, the original banquettes, cabinetry, even the carpet is still original. So we're going to take that out, find a new owner for it because it should be reused and reloved into something awesome. And then we'll start that remodel project. So
Great. So what kind of ideas do you have?
oh my gosh. So there's a million ideas. I think until it actually gets here and I can have time to marinate inside of the actual Winnebago, I probably won't know for sure. But the idea is going to be kind of like a tiny house. We've seen the new DIY show, Tiny House Nation, and they are really good at taking small spaces and providing storage and organization for multi-functions. So when you walk into the Winnebago, you'll see all reclaimed materials, probably 99% purchased from Deconstruction Inc. here in town in Madison. So wood floors, wood walls, lots of texture. I love to mix metals and woods and fabrics. So we'll see. And then all the typical Rekindled stuff. So DIY projects that I've done, taken old salvage and turned it into something new. Home decor things. And then I'll be branching out into some funky vintage t-shirts, maybe some pillows and some reclaimed jewelry. really cool stuff. So I'm excited to be able to launch that this spring.
Very nice. And then you want to talk about your dream bank. You have a great opportunity with the dream bank and all.
Yeah, Madison has a really cool space right downtown. It's called the Dream Bank, and it's sponsored by American Family. And the Dream Bank, what they do is they really offer a creative space for people to come and start exploring different ideas. Find your passions, find your dreams. And where I fit in at the Dream Bank is I'm able to host once a month different Pinterest parties. So they come in and jump into a craft, and I walk them through how to do it. And then everybody kind of finds this niche. They find what they're comfortable with, whether it's painting or building something, something, in my field, crafty stuff. But recently I've been able to do some fun interviews, and now hopefully we'll be part of their Dream Fearlessly campaign, which is just awesome.
Very cool. Yes, I'm super excited for you and everything.
I know. It seems like there's so much stuff going on, too. It's like projects here and events here, and so it's been an exciting year.
So now, how does your husband feel? Now, when I went to your house a month ago or so,
Yep.
you had like all of this
Stuff.
tools and things in your garage, and it's like, where are you going to find all the room?
I know. Well, thankfully, I have a very understanding husband. He didn't get it at first, but now he really is starting to see the vision of where I'd like to take the business. And he, too, is just a very supportive dreamer. So this is not quite his idea of a fun business, but he knows how much it means to me and how much I really like to take these ideas to other people and hopefully inspire something in them, too. So he's excited about it. He's nervous, I think, too, because the entire house is loaded with inventory and tools and projects and that kind of stuff. The boys are the funniest. So my little guys are now almost 5 and 2.5, and they ask me all the time, Mom, what project are we doing today? So that's exciting to see them kind of come up in it too with that entrepreneurial spirit.
That is great.
Yeah.
And they're all supportive and doing all that. So are you going to like look for like a storage place or anything, or just like gonna remodel the house and make it bigger?
I know. It seems like there's never enough space. I'm definitely the one that always picks up fun project pieces. I love to go junkin'. I love to go on different picks. People are now calling me to come shop their garages and stuff like that.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so I'm always probably going to have a stash at the house. But once the Winnebago is remodeled, it'll be nice that I can carry all of my inventory right in there. So it won't be in my kitchen and projects in the living room and in the basement. The garage is probably going to be forever taken over by rekindled stuff, and that's okay. Tools and all that good, useful things. But hopefully the plan will be by springtime to be able to get all the inventory loaded and ready to go inside the Winnebago, and she'll have her own storage unit. And away we go.
Great. I do have to ask, are you going to have one of those really cool horns that goes like,
This thing, you guys, is so old. It's like, the brights pedal is on the floor. So you have to push the button on the floor to get the brights to dim and to light. The blinkers, you have to turn them off if you turn them on. They're not just automatic. The steering wheel, is this big. So it'll be really fun to see like what we can do to it to kind of make it an updated 45-year-old vehicle. I don't know, it's 1972, so it's older than me.
That is cool. And then you said that it likes gas.
It definitely loves gas. My dad started the adventure yesterday, and he left from Sheridan, Wyoming. Before he even left, he had parked the truck in a kind of an empty lot near his neighborhood and just thought it would be fine for a few days until he left. Well, she got impounded.
Oh, no.
So her very first experience before even leaving Wyoming was to get bailed out of jail. So she proved to be quite the little stinker already. And then once my dad got her on the road, she drives amazing. She just, for the age of the truck, she's just really trucking along. He said he's cruising at like 70 miles an hour, in this big honking machine. But she's only getting 5 miles to the gallon. So it's going to be a little bit of a costly gas expense to get it here, but it'll be worth it. And my dad is having the time of his life driving. I mean, he just thinks he's back in the 70s and kind of reliving that. He said cruising down the interstate listening to some oldies music was a little surreal, but very fun. So.
Very cool. Well, congratulations on all your ventures, and it's great to see you again.
You too.
Now that we've talked about the Winnebago, how about we talk about some fall ideas and some do-it-yourself projects that we can do for this upcoming season?
Yeah. So fall, to me, is such a great time to find very interesting pieces that can be used for decor, like around your front porch. I don't know about you, but I love when people come up to the house and they get an impression of that cozy, warm feeling, and you know when you're going to walk in, it's going to be just such a fun atmosphere, right? So I love to use lots of different materials around the front door. One of the things that is super easy to do is create a fun fall wreath. Pinterest is probably one of the best places to start. So if you're not sure what you want a wreath or some sort of a door hanger to look like, Pinterest is a good place to start. Just start looking for things, and then you'll gather all your ideas and get your supplies and have fun with it. I think that's the biggest thing that throws everybody off, is you put so much pressure on yourself to make such a perfect piece that it's not fun anymore. One of the things that I've really started to do this fall is find odd items and combine them into a wreath that way. So old bed springs are really popular, and I know that sounds funny, but they're just so full of texture and dimension that when you can, wire them together and create that wreath, it's something different. Your neighbors aren't going to have it. You're not going to find it at Hobby Lobby. Something different. And then you can add in different things that you want to make the wreath pop. So things like
So you actually like bend out the spring or and just move it into like a.
So when you take an old bed spring apart, take all the fabric off of it, you're left with these little springs. They're coiled springs, and you can cut them apart. So cut all the individual springs apart, lay out your pattern, and then just with small wire, you can wire them together to create your circle or a square. You don't have to have a circular shaped wreath. A square piece would look really cute. And then by using those, it allows some dimension in the piece. So when you go to tuck in other things that you've collected, it just looks so much more 3D than a plain wreath with flowers and leaves and something you would see on most doors in the fall.
That's super cool.
Yeah, so you could add an old key. You could add some, rusty farm type stuff. And some of these old shops off the beaten path, places like South and Main and Dalton that I go to all the time, Miss Bouvier's, even just if you go to like a Goodwill or a Savers, you'll find interesting things that you can start collecting in your wreath. Old clothespins, vintage ornaments, if you get towards the holiday season and you want to turn it from fall to Christmas. Keep all the springs and then just change the ornaments that you've got around the outside. Vintage lace, vintage fabrics, all that stuff just really starts to kind of add. Yeah,
knobs, kind of thing. Something maybe with some color too.
Yeah, you bet. And lace and fabric, that's a really good way to start adding that in there. I always try to find, just kind of a plain palette, and then pops of color will change it up a little bit. So if you've got that hanging on your door and you have some old planters sitting on the porch that the flowers are obviously dead in, you could easily stack up some pumpkins, or you could get a big mum and then put other vintage pieces inside that arrangement.
Oh, and just have them like stick out kind of thing? Oh, that's cool.
So something that carries your theme all the way through. People use old ladders for decoration now. So you could find a short little ladder, stack up some cute pumpkins, or a small hay bale, and then just kind of build up the pieces around it. So it doesn't have to be something that you go to Hobby Lobby or Michael's and buy brand new things. you could probably look around your house to find items that just look neat when you toss them all together. One of the things I find myself doing a lot with projects is I hoard and hoard and hoard and hoard and get everything together and then just lay it all out. And it's almost like you need a big selection before you can pare it down and find some interesting pieces.
Very cool. So let's say, so other places to go shopping or to look for these pieces would be just like garage sailing too?
Sure. Yep, we're kind of winding down the garage sale season, but there's definitely some out there, I think. Interesting pieces can be found at any Goodwill or Savers or St. Vinny's. In Madison, I always talk about and push people to Deconstruction Inc. He's got some of the most awesome salvage pieces I think you could see. You'll find old barnwood there. So if you wanted to make, one of those tall signs that say welcome or put your family's name on it, that would be so cute next to your door. He has hinges and hardware, old vintage finds, so much that you can use to kind of pile around and make different heights and depths in your arrangements and centerpieces. Old gas cans are something that seems to be very popular right now. You'll find those at a lot of salvage places or...
So do you just put those at outside the door and stuff,
Yeah.
just gas cans, and just for the rustic kind of look?
Yep, they've kind of got that chippy paint look, the galvanized pieces, stacking those up on the ladders or using them in old planters. It seems to just add something different. I think people are very familiar with the fall leaf wreath and the stack of pumpkins, and that's kind of where it always ends. But being able to add different textures in there, metals and woods and that kind of stuff, really adds like a different flavor.
I like that idea. It's like, something outside the box and
Yeah.
something that not everyone has, and it's personalized to you because you got it and everything. The restore, I would think, would be good too.
Totally the restore. Yeah, you never know what you're going to find there. And again, use it with like a creative, having fun spirit. It doesn't have to be perfect. A rusty tin can be so neat if you just place like a small fall mum or something inside of it to make it pop. I've seen too some of these old Indian corn wreaths. Have you seen those?
No.
Really cute idea. You just get a basic wreath flat piece that you can buy at Michael's. It's just a round piece, and you take the Indian corn in multiple colors, turn it so that the stalks point out, and glue it or wire it to that wreath. Oh my gosh, it's such a cute idea. You could find it on Pinterest, I'm sure. And then those, again, add something so different to the door or even a window if you wanted to place it there.
For the wreath, would it be like one of the styrofoam ones, or would it be like a cardboard kind of like circle, or?
Any of that, yep. Anything that you can tie that's sturdy enough, you can tie those pieces of corn to it. So I've also seen the compacted kind of like hay or straw wreaths, and it's just, maybe this thick, and it's just a nice sturdy piece. So if you took the piece of Indian corn, placed the stalks out so it kind of flares around the outside, and ran some wire around it, and then around your base piece, around that wreath, it'll stay it'll stay up there nice.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Maybe too heavy for glue, so you want to get out the big heavy duty wire equipment.
Yeah, to keep it intact and everything.
Yeah, something different. And those too would last multiple seasons. Indian corn lasts for such a long time that you could just take it down and store it in your basement or your storage shed, and then you can pull it out again next fall. And it would be able to stay up through Thanksgiving before you get any Christmas holiday stuff out. So it'll be a long-lasting piece too, something like that.
So how would you recommend for someone who wants to start doing their, do-it-yourself stuff? Do you recommend them having a designated area or getting certain tools? I know we had this, or you mentioned it about at the Dream Bank and stuff, different things to start off with.
Oh my gosh, so if you have caught the DIY bug, I would say 90% of the people I know seem to have gravitated that way, at least somewhat. The first thing I would suggest is to kind of find your style. Everybody likes things that are different. Some people like to take old pieces and make them look shiny and new, and some people like to keep that rustic flair or maybe a more of an industrial feel. So really find the things that you like the most. And I feel like one of the best ways to do that is to get out and shop some of these small local businesses and markets and just look at the things that they have. Look at the things that they sell or textures that they use, how they display things, because that can be carried over into your home too. If you walk into here in town, there's a great store called the Ironstone Nest, and you take a look at some of her vignettes. It's easy to take something like that and do it at your house. Use it as a centerpiece. Use it on your hutch. If you're having a gathering, a family event, use some of those ideas in your house too. So now is a great time to shop markets, local markets that are happening in our area. Fall's the best time for that because they're everywhere. And then, you can have treats and spend a whole day. But find your style first. You can use Pinterest. You can use Facebook, shopping these markets. And then just dive in. Just really dive in and do it. There's so many local shops. And you can find a lot of them even on my Facebook page. If you go to Rekindled's Facebook page and you see other places that I have liked, like them too. Like their Facebook page. And then you'll be able to see their photos, things that they have done. And then just dive into it. Go out and get some supplies, pick a project, and just start. It can't hurt, right? So you're always going to have something fail. It's not going to be perfect the first time, but the more you do it, the better you get at it. And I don't really think you need a crafting room. You don't need a shop. I do a lot of stuff on my kitchen island. So there's always projects strewn across the room in the kitchen. I'll take the boys outside and we'll have at a paint job for the day, or we'll sand down some old windows. So you don't need a designated space for it. But there are some tools I think that you'll get used to using. So anytime you're working with older materials, sandpaper is always going to be something you'll need. Larger pieces like furniture, you may want to invest in a hand sander. I'm sure you've probably found benefits from that too.
Yes.
Hammers and nails.
One thing you did mention was when you did the Dream Bank session and everything was that stuff to peel the paint. The
paint stripper?
Yes.
Yes. So working with old paints, one, you have to be really careful and make sure it's not a lead-based paint if it's a really old one. So get that out of the way first. But you'll find that painted things have been painted a lot of times. So just a light sanding maybe isn't going to get that down to the raw wood. So a paint stripper is actually really helpful for getting layers and layers and layers of gunk off. So I'm assuming you've been able to use it and had good luck, right?
Yes.
Okay, good.
The orange colored one.
Yeah.
Yep. That one works very well. I
Good.
tried other ones and I'm like, nope, I gotta use the one that Heidi suggested.
And you know what? It's funny how everybody has their favorite brands of stuff too. So I've tried and failed with a lot of different things. And there's just certain products that I gravitate towards. There's certain paints that I love to use, certain waxes that I like to finish products off with. But everybody will find their own niche. It's nice to have the advice. So doing the research, talking to people, people are welcome to ask me, send me an email or drop me a line. I'm always willing to help out with projects. I love to see other people kind of complete something. It's a fun process.
Yeah, my new thing is like getting like wood from the restore. Like,
yeah.
My favorite is walnut.
Fun.
And cutting that and then putting it together and just putting some letters or sayings on there.
Yeah.
And everything.
Yeah, it's funny how you can just take such a plain basic thing like a board, right, and cut it and add things, add textures, wrapping it in burlap, doing those kinds of things just makes such a simple little piece of artwork that people treasure in their houses. It's very neat.
Mm-hmm. Like sometimes I'll be at home and they're like, oh, what are you doing? I'm crafting in my garage.
That doesn't surprise me. You did definitely catch that DIY bug in the last year. And it is addicting, so there should be kind of a warning out there, like once you start, the warning should go to everybody's significant other to let them know that the house is now going to be overcome by supplies and tools and lumber. But it's a fun process. It's neat to see starting with a small project and then gradually taking on larger pieces as your confidence grows. It's really fun.
It is.
So talking about other markets, there are lots of local things happening in the fall. And in Sun Prairie, in the middle of October, October 17th, they host their Fall Festival. Have you been to that before?
I don't think so.
So right downtown in the Cannery Square is the heart of the Fall Festival for Sun Prairie. There's different booths, there's food, there's vendors. Last year when I was there, they had horse-drawn carriage rides, lots of stuff for the kids, face painting, kettle corn. And Rekindled is actually going to be a part of that this year. So Sun Prairie has an awesome historical home called the Cross House, and it's right on Main Street. And I have invited 5 vendors. They're all coming from this tiny little town of Dalton that I talk about a lot. And we're going to be setting up a market inside the Cross House to be a part of the Fall Festival. So that will be on October the 17th, right here in Sun Prairie.
Oh, very nice. So you guys are going to be selling your work, right?
Yeah, yep. So Rekindled will have my own room kind of dedicated to my stuff, holiday decor stuff, some obviously repurposed, upcycled, painted things. And then there's also other vendors. So South and Main in Dalton, her shop is just so kitschy and fun. So she's going to be bringing some rustic, kind of farm stuff. She's made some awesome old aprons, grain sack aprons. She just has such a creative spirit that her things always reflect that. We Heart Junk is going to be there, another small business. Miss Bouvier's Vintage Market, she's going to be there too. And then also Mary Jane's and Galoshes Photography will be there, and she's going to have another huge booth set up full of fun projects that she's been working on too over the last few months.
That's
So it'll be a good
cool.
stop. Everybody's in one spot, and it's indoors, so if the weather kind of gets yucky, how it does in the fall sometimes, that'll be fine because we'll be indoors.
That'd be great. And then also, like, so all your projects that you guys are probably doing or whatnot are all unique and
Very.
individual. And so it's like, if you want something like that, it's kind of hard because you can't really create it again, or...
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's always finding inspiration in individual pieces. So a lot of times I will go on a shopping spree for stuff, junk, as some people call it, and then I'll get it home and I'll look at it and I'll clean it up and stare at it and just think, oh my gosh, that would be such a cool necklace holder, or that would be a really neat wall sign if I just turned it upside down, sanded the edge, and added a couple of hooks, you know, just different things like that. So I don't typically duplicate things. Everything that I've ever sold is very unique. So
One of a kind.
Kind of, yeah, it has been. And a lot of the small places, shops around here, they're very similar. They take pride in crafting individual pieces and projects. And there's something to be said for that too, I think.
That's cool.
Yeah, fun.
I don't know.
So the market will be a really good place to come if you're looking for project pieces. So let's say you're looking to find some of those things to make your wreath. You'll find them at markets like this one coming up. Or there'll be some finished pieces. So it'll be a good combination of all of that stuff too.
That would be great for ideas and everything.
Yep, holiday pieces too. So yeah, so tell me about some of your fall projects.
So I'm still doing my windows.
Yes,
I am working on a Badger one.
awesome.
So for each of my clients, when they close on a home, I make them a personalized window.
Yeah,
So they all love the windows. They put them up in their house, and I really like the way I feel about it, because then it's like part of my art is in their house,
Yeah.
and they're happy, and they're like, yay, we bought a house from Laura, so.
I know, and it's cool, and it's a functional piece too, right? So
Yep.
some people even take just the plain windows and hang them on the wall, but adding the hooks and adding those different design elements that you've done, I think is a really cute treat for them too.
Exactly.
I like it.
And then sometimes I'll have them write a letter to the seller. So I'll take that photo that I'll tell them to add to that,
Oh,
and I'll
neat.
print that off and put it on there too.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
So yeah, they like that. Other than that, I've just been putting together some wood and doing that vinyl lettering and whatnot on there too. So
Awesome.
some fun sayings that people can put up in their house just for motivation.
Yep, there's just so much stuff to do. You just dive in and do it, right?
Yep, exactly. And I love doing it.
Yeah.
It's like my peace and my me time.
Yeah, it like gets all of that creative juju out, and you just, you know, sit down and create, and there's something, I don't know, to me it's like yoga. I don't do yoga, so I do this.
Exactly, exactly. Well, thank you so much, Heidi, for
Yeah,
coming on the
thanks.
show. We miss you, and I wish the best of luck, and I will come to your stuff as well.
Thank you.
Welcome back to the Home Extension. Hi, Mike. Nice to see you.
I know. I'm sorry. I was running late. Actually, yeah, you know how that goes. Anyway, but I'm here now, and we're going to be interviewing Randy Rueth, and he's from Avid Insurance, and I guess he has all of our risk solutions, from what your shirt says.
I do have all your risk solutions.
Right.
We'll talk about them today.
Okay, and so where's your company located? Or tell us a little bit about Avid. I don't know if I've really heard that name before.
Avid is a new player in the game. The company's 3 years old.
Right.
They just moved into a brand new building over on Parmenter, 2501 Parmenter. They just had a large ribbon cutting on October 1st to kind of break in the building. Moved in with some people that we've been associated with before, Goldstein & Associates, Colas, CPA, Furman and Dodge Law Firm. We have a lot of mutual clients that kind of work in different avenues with each company. But we've brought to this market some different insurance carriers that the ones that were here before us hadn't really used. So we've got a little bit of different angle to the market.
So how does that make a difference if you bring in other insurance companies or different insurance companies?
Especially in the commercial field, every insurance company likes different risks.
Right.
They like to take on different types of companies, different types of businesses. So we brought in a few carriers that just really picking up, a lot of them being contractors, really doing some good work in the bar and restaurant industry. We have one insurance carrier that's all they do. They don't do anything else other than bars, restaurants, liquor stores, and convenience stores. So it's just something a little bit different than some of the other insurance agencies have around here.
Well, what kind of insurance would a liquor store have to have?
You end up with a lot of the same that most businesses need.
Right.
You have a general liability policy. Somebody slips and falls and gets hurt in your business. Usually have a policy that takes care of the building itself. And then a little special exposure to a business like that would be what's called liquor liability.
Right.
It's kind of a third party. If somebody is consuming liquor that has been sold at your store and goes and causes an incident, those people may try to come back and sue you for your selling of an alcohol product. Still very difficult to get through in a court in Wisconsin, but there are avenues that can happen.
I mean, do they have it? I mean, is there a law, like, you know, because I know, like, if you're in a bar and then they serve you, and you're already drunk when you got there, and then you go out and, like, wrap your car around a tree. I mean, like, if they served somebody that had already been drinking, and then they get into an accident after that.
That's some of the liquor liability laws. And that's what the liquor liability, that portion of the insurance would cover some of that. It's still hard for that person to get that through court and actually penalize the bar for it the way the Wisconsin laws are.
Right.
But there are some avenues that can happen.
Yeah, it would have to be like really.
And then one of the biggest parts of the business package is their workers' comp. The workers' compensation insurance is probably the one that your agent can do the most work with you on. There's a number of different factors that they can do for you. And really change your workers' comp premium. Most people think it's just a static number. It's a rate filed with the state, and that's the way it goes. But there are a lot of pieces to it that if you have a good insurance agent, they can work and save you quite a bit of money.
Well, I know, like, just for an example, like my mom, like she T-boned somebody this summer with my car and totaled it out. Well, the insurance company on the other end didn't like want to pay for like the rental car or this, that, or the other, and I'm like if they just say no, you're like, well, and you know, like our insurance company, they really couldn't do anything about it. They can maybe assist you, but their hands are tied. So you almost have to like get a lawyer. So I mean, that's nice that you have in-house lawyers.
That happens.
But I mean,
when it comes to the insurance company, part of the contract is it's called subrogation. You agree to let your insurance company sue the other insurance company or the other party on your behalf. That's part of the contract. The best thing that you can do, that's your agreement with your own insurance company.
Oh, okay.
If you signed up and you did insurance with me and I placed your insurance, part of the agreement is that you agree to let me, the insurance company, sue on your behalf.
Oh, okay.
The best thing that you can do personally is make sure that your agent has given you roadside assistance, rental car coverage, because then when that accident happens, you immediately end up with a rental car. And then I, the insurance company, if it was the other person's fault, I go after them to recoup those damages.
Right.
But I've taken care of you and you've gotten into a rental car.
Well, because I was wondering, like, with that, well, with that,
You do have it on your policy.
right. Well, because I was just wondering, with that, like, because I didn't actually want to file a claim with my insurance company, I just wanted to make them aware of it. Because I didn't want to have to use my insurance company because they were at fault.
Correct.
And then I actually got them to be at 100% liable.
So the way the process is going to happen is you'll have a claim, but it will show as a not at fault. Because you
Right.
were involved in an accident, whether it was theirs 100% or not. And I know nobody understands this and nobody likes it. It's the nature of the beast. It is what it is. You were involved in an accident. And the way the insurance companies look at it is you become a higher risk because maybe you're driving more, but you were involved in an accident. So it becomes a claim on there, and it becomes a not at fault accident, rated very differently than if you had caused the accident
Right.
when it comes to premium time.
But see, like, I just didn't want to file one with them at all.
Okay, how about we talk about
Well, you know what I
other
mean.
insurances?
But
as
anyway,
well?
long story
How
short,
about-
like, I don't know, it's all up in the air. So, so I'll figure it out.
So, how about we talk about homeowners insurance?
We'll get ourselves out of the weeds on that one. We can talk about more of that off air.
All right.
Homeowners insurance, I guess we talked about some of this before off air. Nobody wants to talk to their insurance agent. And I think the biggest reason why is people don't understand their insurance. So who wants to go and dive and meet with somebody on something that they really truly don't have any idea of what it means, what it covers, what it doesn't cover,
Right.
what's going to happen if I need to file a claim. And that's what I've really tried to do, and I've worked with a number of your clients, is take some of that fear and that lack of understanding out of the picture. When I have a first-time home buyer, I won't finish their insurance until we've actually sat down and had a discussion and go through what these numbers mean. What does this number mean? What does it cover? How is it really going to apply to you? Give them kind of a
Right.
real-life situation. We talk about a lot of they call them add-on coverages or endorsements. Showing them why they're important. Like if this happens, if you get a wind and hail damage and it only ruins the siding on half of your home, maybe it comes from the north and the west side and just that is what's damaged. If you don't have roofing and siding restoration, the insurance company's job is to only replace what is damaged. So they replace the front or the north and the west side. They're not really truly responsible for replacing and matching the back side if your siding's not available anymore. Well, that's an endorsement you can get on your policy is roofing and siding restoration so they get it all to match. If your agent doesn't bring it up or you feel it sounds like I'm trying to upsell you, if I don't tell you a story of why it's important,
Right.
I didn't do my job properly, and then when that does happen, you might not have that coverage. The first phone call is going to be to me, and why don't I have this covered?
Right.
So I sit down and try to go through and make sure these people understand what they actually have in their coverage and what's not included and what they might want to add on to a normal home policy.
So, so homeowners insurance is based on like claims, or how is that?
So the base premise of where your home policy starts is the dwelling coverage. It's the catastrophic. The number that's going to happen is if your home literally burns down to the ground and there's nothing there. We don't value what your home is worth because that's what it's worth in the market. That's the numbers that you deal with every day. The number that I deal with is if your home burns down to the ground or it suffers like a tornado loss, I have to rebuild your home. So my number is paying for 2x4s, nails, shingles, appliances to put back in, and that doesn't really have any bearing on what the market says the home is worth.
Right.
I'm dealing with tangible products. So I usually go through, we work on the square footage, the style of the home, the flooring type that's in there, and we come up with a dwelling number of what it would cost for us to rebuild your home if there was a total loss. Then the factors of, have you had any other claims before on a previous home? Your credit score is a factor. The location of your home
Right.
and crime statistics in that area is a factor. It'd be hard for me to list all of them. Whether you're married is a factor. Do you have your cars with your home? The multi-policy discounts. We've all heard Flow, they're all out there, but almost every company does offer a multi-policy discount.
Right. Everything's bundled nowadays.
So there's a lot of, your age is usually a factor, just like it is in your car premium. There's a lot of different pieces that go into it.
Is smoking a factor?
With some insurance companies, it actually is a factor in the home. The company that I previously worked
Oh,
for,
I suppose.
are there smokers in the home? Because, well, what's more liable to happen if we have smokers in the house?
Yeah, remember
A
that
fire.
one place that you showed me? I can't remember where it was, but I mean, those people like smoked in there, like all of them, like there's like.
When I was looking for homes, there were a number of them that I wouldn't purchase because the people had smoked in there for 30
Yeah, I mean,
years.
try to wash the walls and you know.
But for the insurance side, our risk of having a fire is much greater with a smoking household than with a non-smoking household.
Oh, yeah.
And then like for flood insurance too, that
So flood
ranges?
becomes a whole separate. It's an entirely separate policy, and
Right.
those are actually handled. They're literally underwritten by the government. They're actually held by FEMA. The insurance carriers actually do the processing on them, and we do sell them. It's kind of a nature of if you need a flood policy, if you're in a flood zone, they are expensive, but usually with a new mortgage and you're purchasing a home, they're mandatory. And if you would purchase flood insurance and you're not really in a flood zone, well, then it's not very expensive because their risk is fairly low. But when you're in those flood zones, which there are some around some of the lakes in Madison, there are some floodplains here, and I have sold some flood policies, and they do get a little pricey, but floods are not covered under a traditional home policy.
Right.
So you do need that separate policy.
Yeah, because like some areas, I mean, everyone knows your sub pump runs constantly when it rains, and it's a swamp. I mean, they built some prairie on a swamp. So
And that actually becomes an entirely different style of coverage. Every type of, they call them perils, are specifically stated as to what a flood is actually
if you came
consist
into
of.
my house, you would have to spend the night and explain all this to me. I'd be like,
And
we'll
there's
get up
t-
in the
and there's
morning, we'll have
times- and
coffee,
there's
and
times
we'll go
where
over. We'll keep going.
Take a look at your policy. We can figure it out. But that's one thing that is actually what you're discussing is actually not covered under a traditional home policy as well. And almost every insurance company offers, they usually call it like sewer or drain backup.
like drain tile and stuff.
Correct. So if water comes back up through your drain, whether it's through the city or through a septic problem, that's not covered under a traditional home policy. That's one of those endorsements or add-ons that I talk to people when they have the finished basement. So I'd give the real life scenario of how many times have you heard there was excess rain, water came back up through the sewage system. My basement has X number of inches of water in it, or it got plugged and it backed up. Well, there's no coverage for that under a traditional home policy. You need that endorsement on there in order to get the insurance company to come in, replace a carpet, replace what it is. And the biggest problem is it's sewage water, so you need it remediated and cleaned to get some of that bacteria and whatever else.
So then
might
do you
be
go
down
after
there.
the city to get your money back?
The odds of you getting your money back from a city or municipality, slim to none. That's a really tough fight.
So it's probably better just to have that insurance.
Get the claim.
Right.
Yep.
So, I mean, okay, with insurance, I mean, just for the viewers, what would you suggest be like the key questions to ask you to make sure that, because let's say you don't come to their house and they get an uneducated insurance man or whatever, or a rookie, or you know what I mean?
And
and like what would be the good questions that
and
they
I
really
run into
need
those,
to know?
It shouldn't be the questions that you're asking. If you have a good agent, it should be the questions that I'm asking.
Right.
Because I'm the one I have all the insurance knowledge, most of it.
Right.
I'm the one who should be asking you about your vehicles. Do you have a boat? Do you have an ATV? Do you have... I'm the one who needs to find out what your picture is so that I can actually find out what things you would truly need in your coverages.
Right.
I need to talk to you about your home. Show up at your home if you have, some special things that are there. And then that'll actually paint me a picture of, hey, you have this. Or maybe your umbrella policy, which is a separate one that it covers over the top of your other liabilities on your home and your auto. Maybe you shouldn't just have $1 million one. You've got a business and you own a bunch of... Maybe you should have a $2 or $3 million umbrella policy. But if I don't ask the right questions and find out and get a good portrait of your life, there's truly no way your insurance agent would have a good idea, of what you truly need.
Well, I find nowadays, like with, cyberspace and, people ripping off your bank account and getting into your credit cards, that I feel like a lot of people are guarded. Like they don't want to tell you everything that they have, so and then something gets left out, and they're like, well, why wasn't that covered? And you're like, well, you didn't tell me that you had, you know, like $48 million worth of diamonds in your basement. You know, like, you know,
It's a lot of diamonds.
Well, you know.
You know, but it would be, I would liken that the same as to you walking into your doctor's office and
don't tell
not
him
telling
everything
him
either.
half the story and then expecting him to come up with a correct prognosis
Right.
on only half the information. We're only as good as what you'll actually tell us. And if you know if you want to hide the information, your doctor can't give you a good prognosis, and I can't cover you properly if you don't let me know. Now,
Right.
I don't need you to tell me there's 48 million worth of diamonds in your basement.
Right.
I'm going to gather a picture that, you know, this is a larger home. I might notice the wife's wedding ring. You know, hey, you know what? You can actually only get, your home policy only covers a $3,000 piece of jewelry. That's the max that it'll cover for each piece. That's probably bigger than $3,000. Let's talk about actually getting appraisals for your jewelry, getting them scheduled separately so that they're covered properly, so that if they disappear or get lost or something happens in the
Right.
home, you're getting all your pieces back. If you don't tell me about those, I'll bring it up. I'll talk about jewelry, but I won't be able to talk specifically about the stuff you have.
Right.
So if you don't jump in and say, hey, I have some pieces of jewelry that need to be covered, well,
Or what's in that box.
yeah, I can't do anything about it if you don't let me know it's there.
Right.
But I'm going to try to ask those questions and talk about different pain points to get you to, ooh, I do have that. I do have a boat that's not here. It's sitting in the marina.
Right.
So even if I come to your house, I'm not going to see it. Those are the kind of things that as I bring some of these things up, I'm hoping it triggers you to let me know I do have these. I would need coverage for it.
So, I mean, I saw a long time ago, like, is it good practice to take, you know, a picture or a documentation of, like, what you have, what you bought it for? You know, because, I mean, your credit card statement can pretty much show you that, but it won't have a picture of it. Like,
And I tell a lot of people
now
this.
we have smartphones, so, I mean, it's
It's
easier
a
just
painstaking process. I did it when I first got my home. I literally went room by room and took pictures of my furniture, tried to get a serial number off of TVs, and went room by room and captured all that stuff. And it takes a long time. I did a room at a time and it took a week to capture all the stuff. But the thing is, if I ever had a fire in my home,
Oh, you didn't burn
now
it
you
down to
have
the ground then?
adjusters and you have people who come in and they can kind of see what was in there. But if I could then take all that information, transfer it over to an Excel spreadsheet, put it somewhere safely where it's stored.
Right.
If I ever did have something like that, I can actually go to it and show these are the items that I own. These are the types of items that I own.
Right.
It's a long, painstaking process, but it sets you up in the end. If you do need to have claim coverage, you've documented what you have, and then it's not a guessing game between you, the client, and our adjuster coming in trying to come up with
Remembering
what was
everything
stolen,
and-
what's missing, what was damaged in the fire. You just set yourself up to be in a better position, and it's not easy to do, but it's something that if you do it,
Right.
you'll be sitting much better if there's a claim that arises.
Because, well, I'm in the interior design program or department or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, let's say I built a house,
Certainly.
but I had, like, the floors reinforced because I don't want to hear any squeaking. I don't want to hear
Mm-hmm.
any craziness going on. I want them to stay stable, you know, and I did, like, you know, extra painting, chrome molding, da-da-da-da-da. I mean, does that come into the appraisal of, like, when you rebuild, or do I have to note that beforehand that I had extra reinforcements done?
So what happens when I talked to you about that dwelling amount that we're going to insure your home for? There's like 2 different programs in the insurance world that I'm aware of that lets us kind of recreate your home and
Right.
tell us what it would cost a builder to do it. And there are a lot of those specialty pieces where we can put in crown molding, 6-inch crown molding, 8-inch crown molding.
Right.
How many linear feet of crown molding does he have?
Tile floors.
So when we really start getting into a traditional or a high-end home and it's got specialty pieces in it, that's where I'm going to come out to your house and I'm going to want to take a look at it so I can actually capture some of the stuff that you have and make sure that I'm getting it into that dwelling reconstruction so that number is going to be appropriate to what it really costs to rebuild your home.
So let's say your house appraises for $250,000.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, when you sign your insurance policy, like, what's like the cap on that?
So what your home may be appraised for That's that number again that fits in with what Laura does with what your home
Right.
is worth
The net worth.
today in this neighborhood and what a client might be willing
Right.
to pay for it. That number, unfortunately, has nothing to do with my number.
I know. How
because
do you come up with your number? That's what I'm asking.
by taking the square foot, the style of your home, the level of customization that you've done in your home, whether you have tile flooring, wood flooring, carpet
Right.
over hardwood. So those numbers, as I'm putting in all those pieces, the program that's behind this generates, it's a ranch style home. I can put it has lower level exposure in the back. So as it's creating the image of your home and what it's going to cost to rebuild that per square foot, it's factoring all these little pieces that I put in. Does he have fireplaces? Does he have skylights?
Right.
Does he have a metal roof as opposed to regular shingles? I'm putting all those parts back in together, and it's kind of creating a model and then doing it the same way that somebody who does new home construction. This home with this level of customization is going to be about $155 a square foot.
Right.
Factors all that in, here's the dwelling coverage amount.
So does that change as time goes on too? I mean, does it go up?
Well, if you look at the price of a 2x4 and a shingle, that price is going up every year.
Right.
So that's why some people
So,
they
I
get,
mean,
they
do
get
you
a little
adjust it?
upset, and they do, and they generally have a percentage increase that they do every year, and it usually factors in with inflation and what the price of those raw goods cost.
Right.
And people get upset every year because their home insurance goes up. I didn't have a claim. My car insurance goes up. I didn't have a claim. And what people don't realize is that the cost to insure your home or to rebuild your home has gone up a little bit, and so has, and it is a pool, and nobody wants to be part of the big pool. But the problem is, if you tried to insure your home one-on-one, what company would let you pay, say, $800 to insure $250,000? You need that pool of people in order to make
Right.
that math work. So everything's going up. Even in the auto side, the cost of cars is going up. The cost that if you hit another vehicle, I mean, pickup trucks nowadays are what, $40,000, $50,000?
Right.
Well, the insurance company might have to pay a claim of you hitting a more expensive vehicle, and they're getting more and more expensive every year. So those costs are going up every year. And that's why you're going to see, even if you have no claims, the cost to insure people is just going up. And I try to be upfront and tell them, if it was $800 this year, it's probably going to be a little more than that next year. And, you just kind of set them up to let them know that, and here's why.
So, well, I would think almost like as a realtor, like I would almost want you in my back pocket and be like, okay, come in, and then like I'm looking at this house, and I do have an insurance man, and and I showed him like the specs in your house, and you need to be able to factor in that you're going to pay an extra $800 a month for your insurance. So if that's going to cap you out, let's get you out of a $250,000 home, and maybe we should look for a less expensive home, maybe around $225,000, so you're not.
The lenders usually explain that as well too.
Oh, that your insurance.
Because you need to
that
have.
piece really ties in with the mortgage lender. We've done a number of times with. I've worked on a few.
And it's wrapped into your mortgage, right?
Correct. You can have the payments wrapped into it.
Which
And I've worked with
fine.
Laura, and I've worked with a few lenders with her. One primarily that the three of us, it makes it really nice because the conversations are seamless. I know what she needs. I do know what the lender needs, and the information to get those. He's the one who factors in the cost and what their affordability is
Right.
on their debt-to-income ratio, and they factor in the insurance into that. But it really makes the communication between all three go fairly seamless, and it leaves your client really happy because a lot of times they don't have to do anything.
Right.
And I think when you make that process to where they find it very easy and very pain-free, and it's less confusing, they're much happier, probably a lot more willing to refer everybody that took part in that to their
Right.
friends, which usually starts on her end. She's the one out there buying and getting the homes bought and sold.
Right.
And then I really end up being a complementary piece, so that her clients, the best thing I can do is make her client happy and make it pain-free. If I do
Right.
that and it goes seamless, then it's usually a happy client, and I've done my job.
So are there incentives like to switch insurance companies with your company?
Switched. I got a lower rate.
There is, we're always talking about money. So you do hope that there's savings. You do hope that there's savings in the process, and that's part of it. I hope I can save my clients money.
Right.
The bigger part for me is that I want to make sure that you're covered correctly. Like, I want to make sure that you don't have holes in your insurance. And if that's going to cost you $15 more a month, like, I'm going to present it to you and say, hey, you don't have this coverage, and you should have it.
Yeah, because
And
we had to
it's
do that with mine because of the policy and the.
Putting the two pieces together. I'm like, here's a gap, and this is where you could be exposed, and it could cost you a lot of money.
Right.
And sometimes that might cost you $15 more than what you're paying. Well, I need to present it in a way that I can show that $15 is worthwhile to you to not have that exposure. Yeah,
But I mean, I could talk to you all day long about insurance for sure. You know, because
There's a lot of different
it's
pieces.
like it's the unknown thing that people need to know.
And probably the most scary part is the people going online right now and purchasing insurance. We've probably talked a little bit, and I know just from speaking with Laura, she learned a bunch of things when we did her insurance. And what really makes me afraid is these people that go online and purchase, it's usually auto insurance,
Right.
and they don't know what they're buying.
Right.
They see that they're saving money. They don't know what the numbers mean. They don't know if they actually have enough coverage, but hey, I saved money, and this is a great idea. Those are the ones that actually make me nervous.
Okay. Well, thank you, Randy. Randy Rueth. And
Thanks
if you
for
have
having me.
any insurance questions, I mean, feel free to call him. I'm sure, I mean, he's busy, but, you know, I'm sure there's other people at his company that would be more than happy to answer your questions. Don't forget, there's no question that's a dumb question. I go, if you're not asking the question, you're not finding out the answer. So, I mean, you need to know, you need to cover yourself, you need to, like, cover your bases, you know, because so many people go in debt because they can't, their insurance didn't cover it, or you weren't insured, you know, and you don't want to be in the hole, you know, and lose your house because, oh, shoot, I should have had flood insurance, but now I'm $80,000 because I got to replace the basement, so now I need to foreclose. And then Laura will come in and sell it later. But anyway, thanks, Randy.
Thank you for having me. I greatly appreciate
and
it.
hopefully, you know, I mean, I hope people call you. I mean, I would love to talk to you all day long for sure. Because, I mean, I need to know about insurance.
Well, we'll continue our conversation.
Okay, great. And stay tuned for the next show. Heidi, I guess, was on today. She did a fabulous job. It was a one-year reunion. And have a good weekend, and go Badgers, go Packers, and make good choices. Bye.